on the SAT. I hope all of you know that. And since there is no negative marking, you can kind of work on all the questions, and the number of questions you get correct contribute towards your 10 to 40 score. Okay. And how it is scaled kind of changes with every administration. Depending on the difficulty level of that administration, the scaling can change. Okay. Okay, so what we are seeing here is a percentile score. So can someone tell me what is a percentile score? Is it different from percentage? Can any one of you volunteer? Rohan, Sadhya, can any one of you tell me what is percentile? Okay, so percentile actually means, say if it is 98 percentile, right? Or 99%, 98 percentile means you are in the top 2%, right? So say if 100 people have taken the test, you're in the top 2, right? That is what the term percentile means. So this is just, an indicator of where your scores will be. So if you score a 790 or a 800 on the mark, that would be 99 percentile. Okay. But on the verbal, if you see, even if you get a 760, that becomes a 99 percentile. Okay. And this is for the overall score, 1520 to 1600. Okay. So if you could see, the 95th percentile is 740 here and 710 here. And then kind of when it becomes 85th, it's almost equal. Can you see that? So where should you find yourself? If you're looking for admission into a big university, where do you think you should fit yourself into? Yes, based on this percentile, can you people guess? 99th, yeah. If you're looking at any one of the Ivy League, then you should be looking for a 99 percentile. Or if you're looking for some of the top colleges, at least the 95th percentile. Yes. Okay, let us quickly look at the skills that get tested on the Tanushree. 87 could be a tad low, right? So 87 means there are like 13% of the people vying for the position, right? So that's a slightly bigger number. By the way, people tell me 1600 possible on the SAT. Yes. So in every administration, if you see, there are a handful of people who do end up with a 1600. Okay. So it's reachable. Remember that. Now, coming back to the verbal section, you have the reading. Okay. Reading section actually tests your comprehension and reasoning skills, how well you understand what is given in the passage and answer the question. Okay? The writing and language actually tests you on a wide set of skills. This includes expression of idea, as in the writing skills, okay, and also grammar and punctuation rules. Basically, the English usage as well as the writing skills. So math tests you on arithmetic, algebra, data analysis. These are the three major areas. And other than that, you will see a few questions from geometry. Geometry is not a big deal anymore, right? You'll see just a handful of questions, and also from trigonometry or complex equations, right? These are kind of rare on the test, but they're still present. So that is about the skills that get tested on the SAT. Now, let us move to our first strategy. So I hope all of you know that it's a paper pencil test. Are you people, taking tests, SAT mock tests? You people said that you have already started preparing, right? So do you people take mock tests? Can I have a yes or a no in the chat box? Rohan says he does. So do you take it online or do you take it as a paper pencil test? Okay. So that's one thing which you people should, refrain from taking it online. So as much as possible, print out the question paper, right? And use the Scantron sheet, because that is how the actual test is going to be, right? It's a paper pencil test, and you have a lot of things to do with the pencil, okay? For instance, say when you're reading something and you think it is important, or if you think it's going to help you figure out the answer, you have to underline that, right? And also when you are eliminating the answer, right? So cross out the wrong ones, you can circle the correct ones. So for all these things, you have to necessarily use your pencil, right? And remember one thing, it is going to take you a little more time than your online, where you just read and mark the answer. Here, you have to physically eliminate the answers, choose the correct one. So my suggestion would be, on and off, at least start taking the paper pencil test instead of the online ones. Working through the question, and also remember you have to shade the answers in the Scantron sheet, right? And for that, your pencil is a must. Okay, so your pencil is going to be your weapon. Okay, it has to keep on moving, and you don't have a time on the test. You know that, right? Some of the sections give you a minute, say the reading kind of gives you slightly more than a minute. But if you look at the writing and language, you don't even have a minute per question, right? You have to basically rush through the questions in these sections. So your pencil should also accordingly move. You cannot sit and you cannot ponder over questions, right? So reading, how many of you read the reading section on the SAT? Happens to be the first section, the longest on the test, a bit tiring. Am I right? Yes or no? Only Sadhya feels so? Okay, everybody feels that. Okay. So if you have the habit of, starting from the first passage, remember the test usually starts with a literature-based passage, then slowly moves over to the social and science-based passages, right? So you might be an expert in science. Okay, so you might want to start the test with the science passages, get done with them, and then move on to the other passages, right? Or on the flip side, you may love literature, so you might want to start questions based on that. Okay, so it's totally up to you. Decide which passage you should start first. Start with your favorites, right? And keep something like, say, a history passage or dual passage for the end. That could be time consuming. Okay. How many of you have the habit of reading the entire passage? No such thing, Sadhya. It's just fixed there. If you look at the reading section, you will see one US or world-based literature, two from and social and history, and two from science. One of the social or the history passage will be a dual passage, right? That's like fixed. We mostly struggle in political passage with time management. Okay. So Vinay, if you start reading the passage in entirety, that is where you will get into trouble. Okay. For a majority, because Remember, you cannot memorize that entire passage, which runs to some, say, 80 or 90 lines. Am I right? You just read to familiarize yourself. Okay, but at the end of the day, when you come out of the passage, you may not remember much. And you say spend 5 minutes on reading the passage. That means you will end up with, say, 6 or 7 minutes to work on the questions. Right? Each passage has 10 or 11 questions, and you will not even get a minute to answer every question. Right? So it makes more sense to read only what is needed from the passage, what the questions ask you about. Okay? Keep the specific questions for the beginning, right? Start with the specific questions. Read what is needed. Keep the big picture questions, right? Something like, what is the primary purpose of the passage, or what is the main idea of the passage, kind of questions for the end. So that you could have covered maybe 60 to 70% of the passage answering the specific questions, and what is happening there, right? Vinay, I hope that answers your question. Right, keep your pencil moving on the reading. Okay, so if you're not sure, you have to guess and move on, because most of the time you'll not have uh, time to come back and redo those questions, right? So if you're not sure, if you find something difficult, guess on that question and move on. Another important thing is to clearly understand what the question is about. Sometimes the question will ask you, what does the passage say? And on the other hand, it may ask you, why did the author say something, right? So there could be trap answers there. The question may asking, why did the author mention something? And the answer will be there, which tells you what was given in the passage, right? Which could be a trap. So you need to be very clear about what the question is asking for. You have to understand, you have to figure out the task words there and figure out what is that question actually about. And leave your opinion at the doorstep. Nobody is bothered about it, right? On the SAT, it's all about what is given in the passage. Okay. So these are the few things which you can, practice while working on the reading section. I understand that political passages, especially the history-based ones, are difficult for the simple reason that we don't have much exposure to American history. Do you agree with me? Yes, that is the reason why the history-based passages are difficult. So how do we tackle that? Though College Board says that there is no need for any prior information about the topics, but it does make sense if you could, read some of the uh, federal papers, or you make yourself familiar. Familiar with the American War of Independence, the Civil War, right? The major happenings in the American history. If you can read articles about that and make yourself familiar, these things will become slightly easier, right? You're not going to tackle a passage which is totally new to you. Fine. So some background about the American history will surely help you with your scores. Okay, and another thing that I want to add here, this particular question that we're going to look at. Yes, in line 10, the word ambivalent most nearly means. So this is a vocabulary in context question that is asking you for the meaning of the word ambivalent as used in the passage, right? So again, agreed that SAT is not going to test you on arcane vocabulary, but that said and then somewhere or other the vocabulary creeps in, right? In a situation like this. These questions are taken from College Board. Okay, so in a question like this, you should be knowing the meaning of apprehensive or conflicted, right? So you should be aware of these words. And again, if you come to writing and language, there will be few questions that will ask you about the meaning of the words, right? Which word would fit in according to the passage, right? For those kind of questions, you have to know the meaning of the word. To an extent, you can eliminate the wrong words, but uh, whenever you come across a new word on the SAT when you're taking the test, please make a note of them in a separate journal, right? And learn those words. It will help you on the test and it will help you in the future too. Okay. So on that note, let us come to this. Okay, so we have to figure out what does the word ambivalent mean here. So first thing is, let us read the sentence. This frequent experience of gift giving can engender ambivalent feelings in gift givers. So what is meant by engender? Any guesses? Engender means to create. Okay. So ambivalent feelings, again, this one sentence is not helping us out much, right? So we need to see what kind of feelings are there. Many relish the opportunity to buy presents because gift giving offers a powerful means to build stronger bonds with one's closest peers. So, what do we know? Many of them relish the opportunity. See how we can use the pencil, right? At the same time, many dread the thought of buying. Okay, they worry that their purchases will disappoint rather than delight the intended recipients. So, can someone tell me in your, don't look at the answer options, in your own words, can you tell me what could ambivalent mean in this sentence? What kind of feelings? It creates mixed feelings, right? Yes or no? Hmm. So we need to, so this is how you have to work with the vocabulary in context. Read the text, right? And from what you understand, come up with your own word. So this engender is what we are looking for, right? Sorry, ambivalent is what we are looking for. So what could this word mean? So it could mean something like mixed. Now come to the answer options, right? And tell me what matches. Yes, could you give me the answer in the chat box? I'm not getting any answers. We know that it should mean mixed. So what matches with that? Sadhya says it's B. Others? Yeah, B it is. Good job. Opposing, uh, opposite feelings, right? So conflicted would fit in. Right. 1 minute. Let us try this one. So the sixth paragraph is primarily concerned with establishing a contrast between. Okay, so here we need to clearly understand what is this question talking about. There is a contrast which is being established in the paragraph. Okay, so what is that contrast between? So how do we work with this? Again, you have to read this entire paragraph. You don't have to read the entire passage to answer this question, right? This one paragraph should be enough. Yes, people, would you like to try? I'll give you a minute's time. Go through the passage and figure out where is this contrast creeping up. Yes, class, can we have the answer in the chat box? What is the contrast being mentioned in the passage? It's talking about the masculine and element. The author says that I do not wish to say that all men are selfish and brutal, for many of the most beautiful spirits have been clothed in manhood, right? So, where is the contrast here? The contrast is between there is no mention of bad men here, Vishal. Author only defines the masculine elements and also says that not everyone is hard, selfish, and brutal, right? So it's actually between men and masculine traits. Very good, Rohan. So when you're reading, you have to underline what is necessary, right? No, Ketana, it's not between. There's no mention of bad men at all here. It only talks about the masculine elements like, certain characteristics and also in general about how men are. Not all of them are like that, right? So again, reading carefully to get the answer is another important thing. Okay, right. The next, we're going to look. I mean, the third strategy is about how to tackle the writing and language section. So, if you could majorly see, more than 50% of the questions test you on grammar, punctuation, and English usage, right? And the remaining questions come from nearly 24 from the grammar punctuation areas and 20 questions that text you about the expression of ideas, right? So it makes more sense to start again, you have to use your preference here, right? So start with questions that test you on grammar or punctuation. Any guesses why? For two reasons. These questions are relatively shorter, so you can do them in a, a faster way, right? And the second thing is there are certain fixed rules that get tested on the SAT. So if you learn those rules, working on this question is going to be like a cakewalk. Okay. So what are the commonly tested topics in grammar? You have the verbs, pronouns, and transitions, right? They form a major chunk on the test. And you will also see a decent number of questions that test punctuation rules. Okay, so not all the rules get tested. It's not like, random rules getting tested on the SAT. There are certain fixed rules which often get tested. So for you, you should understand what those rules are. right? You should know when you read a question, you should identify what is getting tested there. Okay, and you should relate it to the grammar rule. If you do that, you will immediately get the answer. Okay, and on the questions that test you on expression of ideas, you will clearly see questions that ask you, like, what is the best transition for this paragraph from the previous one, or what is the best conclusion, or how to connect the two sentences, or what is the right order of the sentence, right? Where should the sentence go? Kind of questions, right? So these questions specifically tell you what needs to be done, right? So you have to first understand what the question is and then go back to the passage. Okay. So that is pretty much about the writing and language section. Another point that I want to add here on the writing and language section is that there is a possibility that you don't find time to complete the section. Does it happen often or sometimes? Because you have 44 questions to be completed within 35 minutes, right? Do you find yourself rushing through this section or? Yes, class? I don't seem to get any answer. So you people are pretty much comfortable on this section, is it? Say if you have to choose between the questions with longer answers or this grammar or punctuation based questions, our suggestion would be to go with the grammar and punctuation type of questions, right? So that you can cover more of them within the stipulated time, rather than the expression of ideas question where you have longer questions and every answer option is usually long. Okay. Okay. Right. Let us try to figure out answers for these questions. So the first step would be to read the sentence, right? So here we don't see any questions. We just have a bunch of answer options, right? So like the terrestrial planet cousins, kelp removes carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, turning it into sugar fuel through photosynthesis and releases oxygen back into the air. Okay. Now, what is changing in the answer options? The yes, what is changing? So you have four answer options here, right? So what is changing in all of them? No change. They are, it's, and it is, right? So these are pronouns. Okay, so when it comes to pronouns, is everyone sure it is D? So what is this there or it trying to replace? They're singular and plural, right? So whenever the pronoun is changing, we need to figure out what is getting replaced there by the pronoun. So here kelp is getting replaced. Kelp is singular or plural, people? Kelp is singular, right? So I cannot have there or there. Okay. Now between C and D, it's and it's. Is there any difference there? What is the difference? When you use an apostrophe, what happens? It's a, yeah, it is not it, but it is, right? Option D when you expand it. So if you're not sure about what this contraction is, so it is. Fine. So, like, it's terrestrial plant cousins or it is a terrestrial plant cousins. Which one should we go for? It is, are you sure, Vishal? Like it's or it is? We need a possession. It's cousin, right? So we don't need the verb is at that point. So I'm going to eliminate D. The correct answer is C. Okay, so you have to be careful. So there are two common things which can be tested when the pronouns are changing. First thing is, whether it's a singular or a plural noun that is getting replaced, right? A singular or plural pronoun. Second thing is homophones like this, there and there, it's and it's, right? So you should know what they mean, every pronoun, okay? And the third thing is pronoun ambiguity. Okay, anyway, I'm not talking about it now. So class, let us try this one. So what is the first step? Read the sentence, right? These Harvey houses, which constituted the first restaurant chain in the United States, was unique for its high standards of service and quality. Now, class, tell me what is changing in the answer options. So you see the verbs changing, right? Was and were. So when the verb number is changing, you have to again look at the noun, right? You have to look at the subject here. So what is the subject here? What was or what were unique? The Harvey houses, right? So Harvey houses, is it singular or plural? It's plural. So you cannot have was. So were unique for their high standards or were unique for its high standards? It should be there, right? Good job. The correct answer is option B. So how about trying this question on punctuation? So when the punctuations are changing, you have to figure out how the ideas are on either side. So if you're still on question number 14, see, over time, I have gotten to know several of my co-working colleagues. You cannot have a comma there. So here, if you see, we have a list of people, right? Another a website developer, a graphic designer, a freelance writer, and several mobile app folders, right? So whenever we have a list, we probably have to think about a colon here. Okay. The correct answer is option A. Remember, 25% of the time on the test, no change will be correct. Okay. The last question on writing and language. So this is how your expression of ideas question will be like, right? You already have a question. Till now, we just saw answer options, right? No question at all. But for these, you have the questions. Which choice most effectively combines the sentences at the underlined portion? The plainer rooms are more sparsely furnished. Their architectural features, furnishings, and decorations are just as true to the periods they represent. Okay. So, what will be the right way to combine these two? Are they furnished by their architectural features? No. B may be correct, furnished. So this does not combine, right? It's just your punctuation is changing. Does not combine. This also does not combine. So the correct answer is option B. Okay, so on the map, it is very important to convert what is given in English into math, right? Your questions may be really long. Okay, so whatever mathematical, I mean, terms are given, you should try to convert them into the corresponding mathematical terms, right? And whenever you see these terms in the question, you should be able to translate them into the mathematical equation. Okay, so let us just try one question based on that. A group of people went on an overnight camping trip, taking 60 tents with them, right? So let us kind of underline whatever is relevant, right? How many people are there? 202 people are there, 60 tents. Some of the tents held 2 people each and the rest held 4 people each. Assuming all the tents were filled to capacity and every person got to sleep in a tent, exactly how many of the tents were 2% tents? So this is what we have to figure out, right? How many were 2% tents? So how should we proceed with this? We need to start framing the equations, right? So let us assume that, the tents that can accommodate 2 people, right? Let it be X. And the tents that can accommodate 4 people, let it be Y. So the total number of tents is 60. That is the first equation, right? And we know that totally 202 people were accommodated, right? So in every small tent, you will have 2, right? So if X is the number of tents, you'll have 2X people. Similarly, in the bigger tent, you will have, since there are Y number of tents, so 4Y number of people, right? Because every tent can accommodate 4 people. So this number turns out to be 202. Can you quickly solve this equation and tell me what is the answer here? Class, can we have an answer for this question? Solve it and give me the answer. You people are experts, right? Yes. Ruhin, do you have to calculate y? Because the question clearly says that you're supposed to find out how many of the tenths were 2% tenths, right? So look for what the question is asking. That is very important on the math and work only on that. It is erases and move ahead. So when it comes to the word problems, right, there are a few things which you people should always remember. Yeah, C is the answer, Drukin, correct. So first thing is read the full question, like what we did now, right? Read first, understand what the question is asking for, and do not work with the entire question. Go in small pieces, right? Whatever relevant information given there, work on it in smaller pieces and try to use the process of elimination. Yes. So how about trying this question, class? On January 1st, 2000, there were 175,000 tons of trash in a landfill that had a capacity of 325,000 tons. Each year since then, the amount of trash in the landfill increased by 7,500 tons. So if Y represents the time in years after January 1st, 2000, which of the following inequalities describe the set of years where the landfill is at or above the capacity? So let us use POE. Is there any answer option which can be eliminated? Okay, A is absurd. Did you notice? Y is the number of years and this is like the trash in tons. So it cannot certainly be Y or less than equal to Y, right? So here we are missing out on the tons, right? Which were already there. And here we don't know what this number is. Where did it creep from, right? So the correct answer is 175,000 plus whatever gets added every year should be greater than or equal to 325,000. Good job, people. Good job. How many of you are planning to take the test in December? Have you booked for, or rather booked for December? Ruhin is taking. Anyone else? Okay. Others? Yes, December 4th. I mean, the registration has already started for your information. Okay, so I'm sure, like those who have started preparing, this is not just for the December test. Anytime you're going to take it, these are a few things which you have to remember. Okay, so your prep starts and you have to work hard on your mistakes, right? After you learn, you have to start taking tests on regular basis. And with every test, you have to work through the mistakes that you have made, understand what your weaknesses are and work on those areas, right? And say you're ready to take the test. So, what are the things you should do the day before the test? First of all, take it easy, right? The tests happen on Saturday. So, on Friday, don't learn anything new, right? Maybe drill, maybe a passage to work on. That's it. Just like a warm up, okay? Don't learn anything new there, right? And you can chill out, but again, make sure that you go to bed early because the test starts really early in the morning. You have to report at the center by say 7:45 a.m., right? So you probably have to rush. So take it easy, watch a movie or say hang out with your friends and keep your mind clear, right? And remember to pack your bag. So what are the things that you should necessarily carry with you on the day of test? The admission ticket, right? So you have to take a printout of the admission ticket and the photograph ID. It could be either the Aadhaar or passport, right? So whatever you have mentioned while the time of registration, you have to carry that with you and carry. Okay, Druhan, you have the SAT site, College Board site clearly mentions the calculators that are allowed on the test, right? So you might want to check that out. Okay, graphic or a decent scientific calculator should do the job. Okay, anything which you're really familiar with, Ruhan. And you have to carry two pencils. Okay, and what I would suggest is sharpen this pencil on both the ends. And Sadhya, could you just give me some time? I will get back to the doubts, right? So, two pencils, HB pencils, which you should sharpen preferably on both the sides and keep so that you save time. Carry erasers and sharpeners and also a calculator with you, right? And what are the other things? You may carry a watch, but without an alarm, right? It should not affect the test takers who are sitting beside you, right? Jacket if need be, snacks and small drink for the break time, right? Because you're going to start early, right? To have energy for the remaining part of the test, you can carry something to eat or drink. Okay. What are the things which are a big no? Cell phones, smart watches, highlighter, ruler, and other tools are not allowed on the test. And when will you decide to take the test? So what Sadhya asked is like, how much time uh, do you suggest to dedicate for studying for the March SAT? So Sadhya, it depends from person to person, right? But your preparation should be on a daily basis. Say half an hour per day or 1 hour per day should do the job, Sadhya. Okay, and when should you plan to take the test? First is you should be mentally ready to take the test, right? You might have learned everything, but confidence could be a question mark there, right? So when you book for the test, make sure that you're confident enough to take it, right? And second thing that will decide your test date is the university deadline, right? When the university want the scores. Some of them will, require the scores in October, while others may wait till December. So when you take the test depends on that too, right? Your university preferences. And in the test center, what are the things that you have to do? Remain focused, right? Say if a particular question is difficult, just, guess on that question, move on, right? Don't spend too much time there. Don't get perturbed, okay? Say if something goes wrong, there's nothing that you can do at that point of time, right? All you can do is people, can you keep the questions for the end? I will be answering them, right? Just give me 2 minutes. I'll complete this and I will be answering the questions that you have. Yeah. And try to arrive early because, like I said, the reporting time is 7:45. Plan to be there by say or 7 or 7:15 so that even there is a little bit of deviation, it's still fine. Right? Whatever instructions are given by the proctor, listen to them carefully and follow them. And read the test directions carefully and watch for details. So I think you should make yourself familiar with the instructions beforehand itself. Right? While taking so many tests, you will obviously get familiar with the instructions the directions that are given on the test, right? So you don't have to spend too much time on that. And answer all the questions and maintain a positive attitude because you cannot do anything at that point of time, right? So try to give your best then. Okay. So even after say you finish the test, things are not out of your hands. Say you think your test has not gone well, you have options of canceling the scores, right in the center, or you can do it online. Similarly, you need to you need to shortlist and keep the universities ready because with the cost that you pay for the test, you can send the scores to 4 universities. Okay, if you miss that, you have to pay separately and uh, register. Okay, nobody will accept the score directly from you. Even if your score is 1600, none of the universities will accept it from you. Only college board has to send the scores to them. Okay. Okay, so with this, we have come to the end of the webinar. So let me answer Dhruvin's question. Are Khan Academy resources beneficial for practicing? Yes, Dhruhin, there are drills there to be practiced, right? Uh, but one thing is like how to tackle the passage. Okay, so don't learn it from different sources. That's what I would say. If you have a particular approach, stick to that and use it, right? Don't change it often. Okay. Do you suggest to send scores to universities with a test optional? Sadhya, it can come in handy. Okay. So the universities normally don't say that we don't require, they just say that, the scores can be recommended. Okay. And also these scores can be used for other purposes, right? Like testing your language skills, right? And maybe your say your GPA is slightly on the lower side, the SAT scores can come in handy, right? So you can very well send the scores to those universities, not an issue. And they say it's optional, which means they will be accepting it if you send it, right? It will give you an upper hand. Any other queries, people? Class, any other questions about the prep or about the test taking? Okay, so if you have no further queries, let us, you know, end this session. All the best, everyone. Do well on the SAT. Bye.